They told me I wouldn't make it. At 62, my heart nearly stopped. And for the first time in my life, I truly understood what it felt like to stare death in the face. I lay in that hospital bed, alone with my fear, wondering if this was the end or the beginning of something I had never noticed in all my 62 years of living. What happened next changed me forever. I am 85 years old now, and I am from South Africa. 85 winters, summers, springs, and autumns have passed over me, each leaving its mark on my body and soul. Most days I sit in my favorite armchair by the window, listening to the wind rustle the trees and watching the sunlight play across the walls, thinking about how I got here, how I survived, how somehow I kept walking when the world kept trying to knock me down. I was 62 when it all began. I woke up one morning feeling a sharp, unrelenting pain in my chest. My heart was pounding as if it were trying to escape my body, and my arms trembled uncontrollably. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else. I managed to stumble to the phone and call my daughter. By the time she arrived, I was barely conscious, sweating, terrified. She drove me to the hospital, and the words I heard there will never leave me. You have a severe heart condition. If we don't act fast, you may not survive. I remember lying in that hospital bed, staring at the ceiling tiles, the smell of antiseptic thick in the air, and thinking about my life in South Africa. My wife had passed years earlier, and I had often imagined that life would become quiet, peaceful. My children were grown, busy with their own lives, and I thought I had more time than I did. I was scared, yes, but there was also a strange clarity. Somewhere deep inside, I felt a voice whisper, "You are not done yet. There's still life left in you." The treatment that followed was a nightmare and a miracle all at once. Surgery, tubes, endless medications that made me dizzy and disoriented. The nights in the ICU were the hardest. Machines beeping, nurses bustling, strangers hovering. I fought for every breath. Sometimes I felt like the life inside me was slipping away, like water through my fingers. I won't lie, there were moments I thought death would come quietly and I would not resist. But I wanted to see the sunrise over Table Mountain one more time. I wanted to feel my grandson's laughter. I wanted to smell the rain on the streets of Cape Town and the warmth of a fresh cup of coffee from my kitchen. I wanted more life. Recovery was slow, painful, humbling. I had to relearn things I had taken for granted. How to walk without assistance, how to eat and digest, how to manage the fear that clung to me like a shadow. There were days when I would collapse into my chair, exhausted, wondering if it was worth it, wondering if I was just delaying the inevitable. But then I noticed the small things, the way sunlight spilled through the curtains, the gentle sway of the jacaranda trees outside, the smile of a nurse who remembered my name, Life, I realized, is stitched together from these tiny moments, these fragments of beauty that keep us tethered to the world. I started to live differently after that. I spent hours in my garden, speaking to the plants as if they were old friends, marveling at their quiet resilience. I dug out old books, novels I had abandoned for decades, and read them slowly, savoring every word. I shared stories with my children and grandchildren, stories of my youth in South Africa, my mistakes, my regrets, and the lessons I had learned. I discovered that life isn't about avoiding death. It's about choosing to live, even when the odds are stacked against you, even when fear is roaring in your ears. I thought back to my youth often, and not always fondly. I was not an extraordinary man. I worked hard. I loved hard. I failed sometimes. I succeeded sometimes. I remember being a young man, ambitious, restless, chasing one thing after another, a promotion, a house, a car, recognition, money. I thought if I could just reach the next goal, everything would make sense. But looking back now, sitting here at 85, I see that none of those things brought me real happiness. Happiness was in the moments I ignored, laughing with my wife, holding my children when they were small, listening to the wind through the trees, watching the sun set over the African horizon. Life, I learned too late, is made of small things, ordinary things, beautiful in their simplicity. There were lessons that came at a cost. My heart reminded me of my mortality, of how fragile we all are. I learned to listen to my body, to respect it, to care for it. I learned to forgive, because holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. I learned to love fully, even knowing that loss is inevitable. And I learned patience, true patience, the kind that comes when you stare death in the eye and realize that every breath, every heartbeat is a victory. Now at 85, I feel the weight of age in my bones and the fleetingness of time in every pulse. I am slower, more fragile, but alive. I survived because I refused to surrender. I survived because I found joy in the smallest things. I survived because I chose to fight, even when the world whispered that it was time to give up. And I want people to understand something important. Survival is not just about keeping the body alive. It is about cherishing the life you have, remembering your past, loving the people around you, and never letting fear outweigh hope. I don't know how many days I have left. Perhaps 10, perhaps 50, perhaps fewer than I imagine. But I am here, and I am grateful. Grateful for the struggle, for the pain, for the nights I thought I wouldn't make it, and the mornings I woke to find the sun spilling through my window. And if there is one thing I hope to leave behind, it is this: never underestimate the power of hope, of resilience, and of choosing life, even when it feels like the odds are against you. I am 85. I am from South Africa. I am old, yes, but I am alive. And for that, I am more grateful than words could ever capture.